Greetings, YouTube. I saw a thread recently on the Big Purple, and it was talking about what percentage of a world are metahumans in a super-powered setting like Marvel or DC or your own, whatever it is you've decided to run. And I got thinking about it. And for the purposes of this conversation, we're going to be using the Mutants and Masterminds 3rd edition, which is the one I'm most familiar with. Power levels, to give you an idea, where, a 20 is godlike and a 1 is almost got nothing at all. So I started thinking about it. And I like heroes, but I don't want an endless supply of them. But I still think you need a lot. So I'm thinking 0.1%. That means that in the U.S. there's 3.28 million heroes. Now you're going to say, heroes, or metahumans, villains and heroes, and what have you. You're going to say, that's a lot of people. And in New York City alone, it would be 8,600 people. I think it's 8,600 people. Give me 1 second here. I brought a list up. Yeah, 8,622,357 people as of 2020, though I don't know which list, what month. So that would mean 8,622 metahumans in New York City. And again, you're saying that's a huge number, and it is a large number. However, they're not all 4. And I think you're looking at 90% of those people being power level 5 and under. So those people could very well not even know they're metahumans. I'm supposing there's going to be a test in this world because, for example, you're going to want to make sure that everyone engaging in the Olympics is not just not doping, but is also does not have a metahuman advantage that puts them up above an opponent, a contender. We even have that issue in the real world where they're saying, well, this woman can't be considered a legitimate competitor because her testosterone levels are naturally higher, whereas a white swimmer has physical advantages, and that's okay. Guess what color the black runner is? Yeah. So you're going to want to have probably have some kind of test. And most people are going to be under that power level 5, so they could have abilities that are just a little bit above normal, but still within the range where you're believable. Yeah, that guy's really, really dexterous, or that person's particularly bright. They have aptitude with X, Y, or Z. And you don't have to worry about it. That's not an earth-shattering problem. It's not a power that's going to change the world. Though, of course, it could, of course, help make them their career, their hobby, their income, whatever, You know what I mean? They can make their mark in the world with that low-powered ability. And even if you're talking like a power level 5, what if that's a very passive ability? What if it's disease resistance and longevity? Maybe a little bit of tiny regeneration thrown in there. So the person is known for having a really good healing ability. They heal quickly and completely. They don't scar. They don't get sick. And would you notice that? How long would it take for you to figure out if they get sick? Look at the Bruce Willis film Unbreakable, for example. He just didn't get sick. He didn't think about it until it was pointed out. And if they've got longevity, I didn't crunch the numbers, but that person or he or she could have a fair amount of longevity. And that person is not going to notice it until they're, 65 and they still look like they were 30. And then they're 120 and they look like they're 35. And then suddenly they know that something's going on. Of course, that's going to be in the future, probably. So you got 90% of the people who have a metahuman ability are low-powered. And then you've got that next 10%. 90% of those are from 6 to 10. Okay, these are legitimate, recognizable metahumans. They have abilities that are obvious to us. 6 is maybe the edge of, I don't know what Captain America would be. He's not a super high power when it comes to his abilities. He also has a lot of training and things like that. But if you look at his numbers on his powers, I don't think you'd get much above a 6 or 7 for him. But I could be wrong. Somebody out there knows that. Please tell me. And now you're looking about legitimate heroes. Now you could also have, if you were into like the whole, film noir kind of spider shadow zone, that pulp thing, a lot of those people are going to be 5 and under anyway. And only the big names are going to be above that, and they're not going to get much above 6. They're going to be in the 6, probably 6 to 8 range. So, but 6 to 10, that gives you a lot of room for some legitimate metahumans, heroes and villains and those in between. So that's 90%. So 862 people. All right, and of that, you've got 86 people who are 11 and above. These are the heavy hitters. Now, if you look at Marvel or DC, we'll take Marvel because Marvel is set in our world as opposed to DC in many ways, which is a little more distant from us. Like Metropolis is an analog for New York, but in Marvel, it's New York. So we'll look at New York. So that means you've got 86 heavy hitters in New York. You look at the comic books, that doesn't seem all that far off. Seriously. You could easily fit the Avengers and the Fantastic Four and the major teams and individuals that are in New York City, because a lot of the people who are also heroes are lower power, like Hawkeye and Black Widow. They're going to be in that 6 to 10 range. They're super competent people who have training and skills, but they aren't metahumans. Nor is Tony Stark, do you consider his genius a metahuman ability? I don't know. I think that particular points out the debate. Interestingly, it carried down from generation to generation. Now, how much of that is genetic? Tony's father was a genius, and Tony's a genius, and how much of it is being raised in an environment where you have unlimited access to education, and you were taught from birth that you're a genius? If you were to raise every single child like that, how many of them would outperform how they do in our world right now, because they didn't have unlimited access to education and they weren't trained from birth to think that they were geniuses? So how much of Tony Stark's abilities are on metahuman level, and how many are just the fact that he had access to things that most people didn't because of the fabulous wealth of his family? It's a philosophical question, I suppose. But I think those numbers are pretty solid. 86 sounds like a good number for me. You throw in all the ones that are in the 6 to 10 range, and then those are above that, I think you've got a percentage that is easy to work with, and it isn't everybody, but it's enough that you are going to encounter metahumans in your life. Maybe not a lot of them. Maybe the same number of people you've encountered because they were stars or semi-famous people. Like the West Coast Avengers are probably going to be easier to bump into at a local place than the Avengers in New York City. They're a little more powerful, a little more distant. So I think those are solid numbers to work with. 0.1% for the entire planet, which is still a hell of a lot of people. 90% of those are power level 5 and under. Now the remaining 10%, 9% of those are between 6 and 10, and then only the top upper echelon, the remaining 86, for using New York as an example, are the heavy hitters. And I think that gives you a good dynamic. Now, thinking about this and this video got me thinking about what I would do with those numbers and how those numbers might be used in a campaign. Not something I've run, but just kind of working on an idea in my head. Because we all like our superheroes here. We want the Marvel Universe. We want it to feel and smell and taste and sound and look like Earth, with metahumans laid on top as a nice little icing. But if you do that, they have to be latecomers. They have to only show up after we have established this world as we know it. Because if metahumans show up in, like, say at the point where humanity or the Homo sapien species split off from our ancestors, so you say the first Homo sapiens, those were the ones that finally began to show metahuman capabilities. If you go that far back, 250,000 years, give or take, this world doesn't exist. The language I am speaking doesn't exist. No language that is spoken in this world or has ever been spoken in this world would exist. No religion, no country, no culture, nothing would be similar. The only thing that would be same would be the globe itself, and who knows if they'd altered it. And who much super science has there happened in that world? So you have to bring the supers in late to the game for it to be our world with heroes on top. Kind of what Marvel did with the Ultimates. They brought them essentially in the 21st century like they did in the Marvel movies. Yes, they've been heroes for a while, but it was always very low powered. It was nothing earth shattering. They moved behind the scenes mostly. But the big heroes, the people that we know, didn't really show up until the 21st century. And I don't want to go quite that recent, because my divergent point is going to be 1918. Now, anybody out there can tell me, what is the trigger going to be? What happened in 1918 that might have changed our genetic future?